All right. So can you still see my my browser here?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. All right. So for those watching this on YouTube, welcome back. It's been a couple of weeks since we've done a meetup. I had a break for a couple of weeks, and I think the last one I haven't actually uploaded to YouTube, so I better get on with that. So first question today, we're looking at why subtasks might not be appearing or available. So when we click on a create button here, under issue type, we can see story. And for this project, we've got task. If I create a new task, here's a task. So if I go and look at that one, NAB 33. So Jaya, is it in this screen here where you're saying that you don't have that create subtask option, or is it under the create button?
Actually, I'm in the user story, Paul.
Oh,
if you
okay.
open an existing user story, that's where I was talking about.
Yeah, no worries. Okay, so if I open a user story, NAB 14.
And so see where you see create subtask,
Yep.
in that place, I see create issue on the other instance.
Ah, okay. That's weird. And does it look like this? Does it look like that?
I mean, I don't know the exact icon. I can go back and double check, but it just says create issue, and it doesn't have any other option to create a task or a subtask.
Okay, no worries.
Did she include a screenshot or something?
Might be a bit sensitive. I mean, you could do that.
Yeah.
You could post
Well, I mean,
in
just
Slack
the
channel.
button.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, could do that. If you're comfortable to do that, Jaya, maybe we can do that through the Slack channel after. But one thing that we might have a look at here, if we go into settings and we go to system settings, and I'm just going to do a Control S here for subtasks. No, nothing there. It is under, if I search Jira admin, subtasks. It's under issues, sorry. So there's a couple of options here for subtasks, right? We can disable subtasks. Oh, that's a new one. I've never translated subtasks before, or you can manage them. So that's what translate is about. Oh, that's pretty cool.
Oh, wow, cool.
Installed languages.
Hmm.
Well, that's pretty cool. Okay, so that's what that's about. And I can disable subtasks. We'll try that in a minute. And managing subtasks just goes into the issue types. Okay, so with issue types in Jira, out of the box, so if you don't have Jira Premium, then it's Epic, and then there's an issue level, which could be tasks, issues, bugs, all that sort of stuff. They're all at this that middle hierarchy level, and then subtasks are beneath that. So we've got one configured here, subtask, which is of type subtask. We might create another one, another issue type, and we're going to call this development. We'll just call it dev, right? So if you had a story and you had developers create subtasks underneath the stories, then you could set up a development issue type, and you could flag it as a subtask issue type. So I've got a new one there. And now let's see. So if I go to development, it's used on the default issue type scheme. If I go back to our NAB project and go project settings and issue types, we've got subtasks here. So they're being used. Edit my issue types, and I can add in this development subtask issue type that I've just added here. So I'm going to save that one. So now if I go back to that story, if I create subtask here, then I can either choose subtask or I can choose development task. Now it's possible they could have subtasks not included in the issue types of your project, but I suspect that's not the case here. I think probably, go back to managing subtasks. I think they've probably disabled subtasks. Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Can't do it in that one. Let me Just open another browser. I'll just go to demo 01 for a second. So I'm in demo 01 here for a minute, and I'm just going to make sure I've got no subtasks in here. So type in subtasks. Subtask issue types. Okay, so in this one, I've got in demo 01, I've got no subtasks in this one. So I should be able to go to subtasks in here and turn this off. Subtasks. And just going to disable subtasks. Okay, so subtasks is turned off here. So now if I go and let's see, your projects. Okay, so APR was one of these newer style projects. And if I create a story in here, let's see, create a story in APR. Yeah. So now if I go in here, I've just got link issue. If I open it in a new window, then I've got link issue. I don't have that button though, create issue. Can you just check that one again, Jaya, and just see if it says link issue or create issue?
It actually says create issue. I can just take the screenshot of that taskbar and
Just that
show
bit,
it to you.
yeah. Yeah, and if you could just put it in the
Chat.
in the Slack channel. Yeah, yeah. Maybe in the Slack channel, and then we can work that out back and forth after after the meetup, if that's okay. I think that, yeah, that one's going to be a bit more interesting. I might have configured. And there, that instance that you're using, is that under Atlassian.net?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, all right. So if we suss that out in the Slack channel after, that'll be great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Paul.
No worries.
And when would you create tasks? Like, Jira doesn't have parent-child relationship between stories and tasks, right?
Yeah, that's right. And this one's, there's a lot of conversation around this quite often. So when would we use tasks? So for a story, provided that stories get finished within one sprint, then subtasks are quite handy. So if you wanted to have testing subtasks and all the rest of it for a story, that would be okay. So you might have heard in Scrum, we talk about vertically slicing instead of horizontal. So you wouldn't have one story which is create the database, another story which is design front end and that sort of thing. It'd be more around articulating functional value, so something that is useful for a product owner. And then to complete that story, you need to do all those technical elements to meet the needs of that story. So it could be that as part of the part of creating that story, you do a UI and you do a wireframe and you do your back end and whatever, everything to complete that story, right? So when you take a story into a sprint, it could be that your developers have individual tasks. So you might have a back end developer who has a task for back end and that sort of thing. For that, I would use a subtask if the story is small enough to get done in a sprint. Where subtasks come undone in Jira a little bit is if you have a story in a sprint and the subtasks for that story appear in the sprint, if you only get part of them done and you move the entire story from one sprint to another, all the subtasks go with it. So it's a little bit of a clunky experience. But if your stories are small, if they're sort of moving to done within a few days and you're not going to carry over subtasks, then I think that's a really good fit for them. Another time that you might use tasks in Jira is if you have things like writing documentation, getting legal approval, for managing dependencies inside and outside of the team as well. So my team at the moment are using tasks for managing those sort of dependencies. It could be actually having a task for the elaboration of a story or for splitting out stories from an epic or something. So rather than bouncing a story from one sprint to another, if the story itself remains in the backlog, but the work required to prepare that story for delivery, if that's articulated through a task, and that could be a good fit. Does that kind of answer your question?
Yeah, thank you, Paul.
Yeah, no worries. All right, cool. And that's a bit of a contentious one because Scrum doesn't prescribe how we do these things, right? All Scrum says is we've got to have a backlog. It doesn't even say you've got to have stories. And Scrum leaves that to the organization to do however they like. But then when we're using Jira to run Scrum or anything else, then it becomes a bit confusing about, okay, when do we use stories? When do we use tasks? When do we use subtasks? And is a technical story different to, you know, a user story and that sort of thing? So there's a lot of debate, I suppose, but there's also a lot of books, a lot of podcasts and views on how these things can be done.
Yeah, that's sort of a team discussion at the beginning, sort of like team agreements. What do we want to use subtasks or tasks for at the beginning? And
yeah, very much so. And when people join or leave a team as well, when you get rotation through, then people will come from outside the organization with new ideas, and they'll say, well, last organization we did it this way. So it's good to always revisit these things because there's always a better way of doing things. You've got to apply Scrum to Scrum itself if you're using Scrum. All right. Cool. Welcome, Kudzi. Good to see you. Okay, so today, no stress at all. All good. No worries. Okay, so today we were going to have a look at our Confluence macros. We haven't sort of looked much at Confluence for a while, and I saw a post from Jonathan on LinkedIn a few days ago that there's some new features in Jira. I think it's Service Desk is now rebranded something else. So it'd be great to get Jonathan to take us. Say that again.
Oh, never mind. Sorry.
No, that's all right. So it'd be great to get Jonathan maybe to take us through that in the next meetup. So we'll get in touch with him and see if we can do that. Okay, when I opened up Confluence today, I saw there's this new banner. Now you can create a page with one click and select a template directly in the editor. And I'm going to try a new gadget that I've got here. Oh, there we go. So yeah, this thing up here. So we can open up that link here. And I haven't seen this page before. So create a page from a template. When you create a new page, you've got the option of starting from scratch, et cetera, et cetera. Nothing new here, but it looks like there's a new view when we go and choose our templates rather than having a pop-up thing. So that's pretty cool. So maybe let's give that a try. So if we come into, is the APR project Confluence space today, if that's okay. And if we go create, righto, find a template that meets your needs or import a doc from another program. Okay, that's pretty cool. So this import thing is a new feature. And so we've got categorization here by labels, it looks like, of the different types of templates we've got. That's pretty cool. So that previous view, they had a pop-up dialog, was getting a bit cluttered. So there are lots and lots of different template options in here. So I suppose this is a more expandable type way to do it. And it looks like we get a preview. So that's pretty cool. So I don't think we've gone through all the templates in detail before, but there's a whole heap of different ones. So we can do blog posts, and I think there's a calendar view, so you can look, like, scroll back by months to see your blogs. 90-day plan, that's pretty cool. Annual plan, one pager. AWS architecture diagram, that's interesting. So Lucid Charts have done that one. Brainstorming, business plan, one pager. So I'd encourage you to log into Confluence and have a try with all of these, and then maybe you can have a play with them next week if you wanted to. But any one of these templates, if I select it, I've never used this one before, so we'll see what it's got. Zendesk, okay, that's pretty cool. So we've got a heap of sections here, and we can publish the page. So going to go full
Sorry,
page.
Paul,
there.
while you're there, I'm just curious.
Yep.
In Confluence, I didn't get that fancy stuff you got, the new features. Is it because of my current subscription or?
So you didn't get this thing that you've got that I'm showing on the screen here now.
No, I
On
didn't get it.
Is that on your work one or is that on
It's my personal one.
your own personal one? And that's
Well, when I say personal one, it's the one that it's part of the group that you gave us access to.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So let me see here. Now, is that demo or is it demo 01 that you've got? Because I'm looking at Integrity Works demo here at the moment.
Yeah, it's the demo one.
Okay. It might be under your profile. So I'm just going to publish this for a second. That's interesting. Oh, I need to give it a title. Okay, so now I can publish it, of course. Okay, so under your profile, that's a really good question. Let me Google that.
Maybe I haven't updated. Maybe I need to update my laptop because I saw I had to do a few updates and I haven't. So maybe when I do that, that'll kick in. I'm not sure.
I think it'll be on the Atlassian side. It might be more to do with your user profile. Confluence user.
And demo tools should be okay. I think I tried it just now.
So for you, it's okay, is it, Jose?
Yeah.
It could be.
Or it could be a progressive rollout by Atlassian to certain user.
Yeah, based on the user rather than by the instance. It could be that. Can we try that one out in Slack as well, please, Kutsi? So if we follow it up there, so it's a new template view. I think there's a user profile setting. I can't remember where it is off the top of my head right now, where you can get early access to new functionality and stuff. Yeah. And so because with that new template side of things, there's an import, which is a beta on this side. That could be something to do with getting access to that other view.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That's all right. But I'll make a note of that, and if we keep discussing that in the in Slack, that'd be good. All right, so a few meetups ago, we were playing around with macros in these pages. So remember to add a macro. We've got this drop-down plus button up the top here, or we can just do a /, and that will insert a macro. It's a shortcut for it. We worked through trying out these different ones. So there was code snippets, dates, decisions, dividers, etc. And then under view more, we get this pop-up screen here where there's a whole heap of different macros that we can try. And I think, so if we go to APR, I think it was you, Jose, shared with us the tip that if you just grab the URL for a roadmap and you paste that for a classic roadmap, that is, and you paste that in into Confluence, it will give you a dynamic roadmap right in the Confluence page there, which is really cool. So if I publish this now, then we get exactly the same view as in Jira. So from here, you can expand your epics and see everything that's beneath them. You've got progress bars, and we can scroll down a bit. We can drag and drop our epics. Oh, no, we can't. Can't edit from here. Okay, that's interesting, which I guess makes sense, actually. So this would be from a report perspective. And we also, therefore, can't add epics or stories or bugs under here. Whereas when you go into the Jira view of it, we get that plus button, and I can also change the dates. Yeah, and also just wondering, if I move that third one, training needs analysis to the end of December, okay, I need to refresh the screen and then that will reload. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So you've also got view settings here, so you can look at all epics or just those that are complete or incomplete. So you can filter your epics, and you can also show dependencies and progress. You can toggle that on and off. So if I turn off progress, for example, will reappear. Dependencies, if I marked training needs analysis as being dependent upon this strategic communications epic here in Jira. So I'm going to go to my quarterly view down on the bottom right corner here. Scroll across a little bit. And when I hover over, I get this link. I can just drag and drop that up there.
Ah,
So I can see one epic is dependent upon another. There's no behavioral impact there, so it doesn't do anything for auto scheduling or anything like that, like advanced roadmaps, but it's a handy tool. So now if I refresh this view in Confluence, then I should see that dependency marked there. And I can see the detail about the dependency. So that's pretty cool.
yep, that's really cool.
All right, so it's the roadmap. And sing out at any point if you want me to try something different with these, just let me know.
Yeah, I played around yesterday with the Jira, creating Jira issues within the Confluence page, and apparently there's a way to create multiple issues if you put them in a tables and then link them into issues. Sorry,
Yeah,
with the epic. I think that's very powerful.
yeah, that's really really helpful tool. And I use that one a fair bit. So let's imagine that we might have, so I'll create a new table here. And imagine this is meeting actions or something like that, or we take, let's make it a user story name in a meeting. So imagine we're doing an elaboration session or something like that. And we might have, so column, and our description might be as I want to that. Oops. I'm just going to cheat here and just do a couple of basic ones. What a sandwich. Cheese. So it's lunchtime. You can say anything about food. Or a healthy one. Let's drink some water. Okay, so if I publish that, and if I scroll down to that table, if I highlight text like that, we can see that we get a create issue pop-up. If I click on that, we can either create one issue. So if I chose APR, for example, and now we're going to be stories, and it will, at that point, it will only give me the option to set the summary, and I'd have to manually type in the description. Or I've got this issue, this option, create multiple issues from a table. And so if I do that, I can still choose which project and which issue type I want to create it in, so which Jira project. And the summary, it'll do a mapping for me. So I can either choose the user story name table column and the description. If I had a table that had multiple columns in it, then I can say which one I want to use for the summary, which one I want to use for the description. So I'm just going to go with summary and description here now, or sorry, user story name and description. And it's telling me here, following issues will be created. If I hit create, I'll think about it for a minute. And if I scroll down, so we can see here it's automatically created these issues in Jira. Now it hasn't linked to the epic though.
I think may need to create the epic first. So let's say the epic name is plan a healthy lunch with family, and then we create that as an epic, and then subsequently we can create those four as a stories linked to that epic. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So imagine that we had so create the epic through here.
No. You can create the epic from the same page.
Ah,
yeah.
Okay.
You can describe. Maybe create another text description, like plan healthy lunch with family, for example, or plan healthy lunch during fun fair or something. Yeah, and then
Okay.
we create that first and then create this subsequent stories.
Yeah, okay. So,
Yeah, I think the useful example or useful use case scenario in this case is after, brainstorm or discovery session, you have this list of user stories that the team has formulated, and with subsequent epics.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So let's try this out. So if I had an epic, which was that.
So we need to delete those stories first. Oh,
Yeah, it'll just create duplicate stories, I think.
Oh, okay.
But that's all right. So from here, if I had one and it was going to be APR and I'm going to create an epic.
Yep.
So if I had that one. So APR, okay. So if I go multiple issues, but I choose story. Oh yeah, link to epic.
That's the one.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Huh. So that's new functionality. Where did you see that, Jose?
The link that Jeff sent the other day for the Confluence training. So I checked it out yesterday.
Wow.
And I found it useful.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. So this will create some duplicate ones, but that's okay. And it'll take a minute for that to load. So now, look at that. Wow, okay, so it's added the epic in, so now I can set it in the roadmap. And I can't set the dates, of course, because this is in the Confluence view. There you go. That's pretty awesome. Thank you. I'm going to use that. I'll pay you later.
Oh, good.
Yeah, that's cool. So, so just to recap what we've done there. So we've got a table, and one of the rows in here is the epic name. You wouldn't necessarily have to have the structure like this. It could be that you just picked one of the rows in here, right? Maybe it might even work if you select text outside the table. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, it could. I haven't tried yet. Maybe it will work. Yeah.
Right, let's try that. Oops, second table test. So if I put here epic name, plan, healthy dinner. All right, so this time it really will be healthy. So we've got story name, description, get rid of that column there. Okay, so now we've got via lettuce. Beans, not baked beans, the healthy beans course. Should make that pinto beans. And so here we go. Story in. Cheating once again on the story. Okay, and something else healthy. Light salad. Oops. Light salad dressing. Okay, so I can publish that one. Scroll down. So create this one as an epic. So I'm going to go APR again. And I'm going to choose that as an epic. And I'm going to set that as the epic name. So in previous sessions, we probably talked about with epics how you've got a summary and an epic name. So the summary is a long summary, like 255 characters. The epic name is what will appear in your backlog. So if I go into my Kanban board here, let me enable it. The board settings. Okay, just going to enable a backlog view. Now, I'm just jumping around a little bit here. In Jira, so this is going through some of the board settings, and we might go through this in one of the future meetups. So under board settings for Kanban boards, we can have a separate backlog view. So there's that standard Kanban view that we saw before, which has just got all these columns there. And then you can offload some of that into a backlog, because in Kanban, if you have a lot of things that are not yet started, then your backlog becomes a bit difficult to manage sometimes. And there's an option there to turn on our epics panel if we want to see it. So if I go back to my board now I've got a backlog view. Okay, that extra option up on the side here. And if I expand out epics, so plan healthy lunch, we've got the short description. So this is the epic name that appears there. And then the summary line is that next one underneath. So if I think these are all going to be the same. Yeah, they're all short ones. If I had a longer summary name for the epic, then all that detail would appear and it would wrap around. But the short name at the top, the epic name, is also what appears on the lozenge over on the right-hand side here.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Also, you can change the color of the epics here if you wanted to. So if you click on a drop down here and change it onto yellow, might need to refresh the page, and then plan healthy lunch over the right-hand side. They'll appear that way. These other ones that don't yet have any epic associated with them, I can click and drag them over. I've probably shown some of you that before. And with versions, if I created a new version, so I call this lunch 2.0, then you can do the same with dragging and dropping onto that. So your fixed version will always appear as a grey lozenge there, whereas the other one, it'll take the epics color. And if you wanted to remove something out of a version, then you can just drop it onto issues without versions down there. And you can also do the same with epics. So you can click and drag onto issues without epics. That'll clear the epic off there as well. Okay, so back into Confluence. And I was just talking about summaries and epic names, right? So if I create this epic, which is plan healthy dinner, and we're in our second table here now. Scroll back down. So I've now got PR24. That will appear in this backlog here. So I've got plan healthy dinner. That one I'm going to give it a green color, just because it's healthy. And now if I select text in here, and go create issue, create multiple issues from a table. So now I can choose APR and story.
It doesn't have the link.
Doesn't have it. Okay, so the epic has to be inside the table. So let me just try something here. Oops. So let's just try adding in another row here. I'll grab that. Put that in there as well. Oops. Okay. And now if I save it, publish. All right, so now I've got our epic in there. So if I do this, so we select our text, and then we go create multiple issues from table, link to epic PR24. Yeah, okay, so the epic has to be in the table itself. And I guess that makes sense, otherwise it would be multiple. Sorry. Use story name description. Yeah, it makes sense. Otherwise, it'd be complicated to try and work out which epic you're going to be linking them
I
to.
think it might be just a matter of in the heading of that table.
Okay.
And then the second row and the following rows can be user stories. That's what I tried yesterday.
Oh yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, cool. So if I put that. Yeah, that's interesting because it's just gone and created another issue or another story, which was that that epic. So it could be a little bit clunky. It's a pretty handy feature though.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. Okay. Very good. Now I've got a hard stop at 1:30 because I've got a meeting I've got to jump into. So let's keep moving along. Let's try out some other macros here. Move down to the bottom of the page. Righto, so back under the plus button. And if we go view more. So we just had a look at advanced roadmaps. We've got other things that we can put in here. So agile wall board gadget. A lot of these gadgets, some of the, a lot of these are older ones and they're sort of like a two-step process. So when you go to insert a new gadget or to edit it, you'll get sort of an interim screen here, which will have its own save button. So it's a two-step process. You've got a save button there, and then there's an insert button down the bottom. So here we're going to use this on the APR board. And we want to show the board name. Quick filters, we'll leave those there, show the quick filter names. If we save that, now it should give me a preview of what this wall board is going to look like. Okay, and now if I go insert, it'll give me a preview. Looks a little bit clunky if I publish it. And this wall board gadget, I think the original idea here was if you wanted to have a big screen up on your wall and just have a gadget which was showing the current status of your current sprint, but it's not laid out terribly nicely there. But it's replicating what we're seeing on this screen here, I think. So selected for development, in progress, unmapped, in testing and done. Yep, okay. So the layout's a little bit clunky. Let's try another one.
Maybe you can modify the width of the pixel.
Yeah, good point. So okay, so instead of being 450, if we try auto, try it again. And save. Publish.
Much better.
Yeah. Good call. Thanks, Jose.
Oh, good.
Yeah, looks much nicer, doesn't it? Okay, so it's interesting. On this board here, it's put everything as all caps. Whereas here, it's got a lowercase u, for example. So maybe if we go into our board configuration, board settings, columns. Okay, so the way that these are set in here, something I'd never noticed before, that it'll capitalize whatever we put in here. And this macro will bring it through with capitalization as we enter it into our config. Cool. All right, let's do a couple more. And this time I might get you guys to tell me which macros you'd like to see. So if we come down the bottom here, go to view more, and we can have a look through here. So the macros are grouped, right? There's administration macros, and that's empty at the moment. That's interesting.
Not related to micro, but I've got a question.
Okay.
Do you link your Confluence page to Slack, for example, for team communication? If there's some update happens in the page, and would like to know about those updates.
Yeah, good question. I haven't done that before, but Ignacio and Kudzi have got that working. So
Cool.
our Slack channel, for example, has got Slack working there. And automation, they've also got connected up. So Kudzi, did Ignacio take us through that Slack integration one time previously?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, that's right. So it might be good if we revisit that, because I'm not sure how he did it and how he set it up. Did you do the setup as well, or you just did some testing, Kudzi?
I just did some testing, but I probably need to go back and do the testing before I I think I can give you guys tips.
Yep. Yeah,
So,
no stress. Yeah, no problem. It'd be good to go through that maybe in the next one as well. So, okay, with our macros, they're categorized, right? So under administration and communication, there's nothing there yet. But what I suspect is if we had plugins for Confluence, then maybe they're grouped by these. So there'd be plugins available, and it could be timesheets, for example, or team calendars that might appear in those ones. Then under Confluence content, we've got advanced roadmaps for Jira. That's different to what we just looked at before. Before we just pasted in the URL, which was Jose's tip from the classic projects in Jira and the roadmaps that are available for those. Advanced roadmaps is in Jira Premium, which we don't have here. We've got other things like attachments, so we can see a list of attachments belonging to a page, blog posts, change history, children display, so it'll show all the descendant pages beneath a particular page, content by labels. Some of these we've seen before in some of the other summary pages. Content report, contributors, so a list of all the people who've edited a page before. Contributor summary, same detail, but just in a table form. There's a button that you can add to create from a template if you wanted to. Decision report, which will list a load of things. Excerpts, which will show a summary, I think, of each of the pages that are included. Include a page, we've used that one before for status reports. So, you know, when we had the Jira status report page, sprint goals page, sorry, and it was inserted into our sprint review notes. We've done that one before. Jira roadmap, this is for next gen projects. That's the same thing as what we just saw before by pasting in the URL to a Jira classic project, but this is for next gen, which is just a different type of configuration in Jira. I don't really use them. A list of labels for a space, so you can apply labels to different pages. And then this way, let's add that one in. I think that will give us a summary. If we had any labels, then you'd be able to click on it and I think search for pages that way, Confluence. So as you and your team label content, this area will fill up with the latest updates. So if I had a page here, project control board, and I'll label this one with PMO, and the page loads. So if I create a new label of PMO, add that to the page, when I come back to this one, if I refresh my page, then hopefully I should see that label down the bottom. There we go. So I've got PMO. So if I wanted to see a list of pages with that label, then it would show me the list there. So that's a pretty cool macro. Because sometimes labels can get a bit out of control too if you wanted to see a summary of them. So that's a very handy macro there. All right, now if we go back down to the bottom of the page again. More macros. So, okay, we're looking at Confluence content before. And that was the labels list. There are some here. I wonder if they've changed this. They're actually going to deprecate some of these. So Microsoft Excel, if we go and create a new Excel spreadsheet, and we have some data here, row 1, row 2, no. Oops. Rows, columns. Should there, shouldn't I? That would make more sense. Okay, and we bold that, and we bold this one as well. Come on. Does anybody know why Excel does this sometimes? You go to bold something on a new spreadsheet, it's very, very slow.
No idea.
I just started seeing it lately. I don't know if it's due to a Microsoft update or something. Anyway, that's going to take us a while. Okay, so you can insert in the contents of an Excel file which is attached to the page, and you can say which rows and columns you want to have visible. So that's pretty cool. I've used that one a few times before. I did hear that they were going to deprecate it though, so it'll be interesting to see what it looks like now. And just a couple of minutes left. Let's have a look at the other. So Confluence content. I think you can do the same with PowerPoint, Word, PDF. That's pretty cool. Do that one as well. Popular labels, recently updated pages, profiles. So if somebody had a profile page, if you want to do a team page, then you can insert somebody's profile link in there with their picture and everything, or avatar. Recently updated dashboard displays, recent updates with filtering options. That's pretty cool. Okay, so it'll tell me all the pages that have been updated lately. And you could restrict it to a particular space, or it can be all of Confluence. So that's pretty cool. Now, if I click on select macro, that'll take me back to the previous page. A list of all spaces. So that's one way to be able to navigate between spaces if you wanted to. A task report, that'll be like the decisions. And so like on the meeting summary page, that'll give you a list of all of the outstanding tasks there. And user display, I don't know how that's different to a profile. Oh, this one's just a picture. This one's a full profile. So, okay. And so it would show up your avatar or whatever, and a link to your profile goes in there as well, which is pretty cool. All right, so we're almost at time. There's as you can see, there's a lot of macros here. So under development, external stuff, there's a whole heap of things in here that you can use for sprint management, heat maps, and a range of different things as well. Many of these also are available in Jira dashboard gadgets. So you can compare a lot of those if you wanted to. Formatting, I haven't used this stuff before. Media, so you can put in a gallery, and again, there's that link to Excel content or PowerPoint, Word, etc. Navigation, there's a lot in here about dynamic listing of the child pages beneath the page, and a search box if you want to have it in there, and where you can search in attachments and all sorts of stuff. You can put in table of contents and different things. Reporting, some of these we've seen before as well from on the meeting notes summary page that uses page properties report, I think. And then there's some charts, images, and different things that you can use as well. So I might leave it there, but if we want to continue the chat in Slack, and by all means, let's have a discussion about what we'd like to see next time. But hopefully this was helpful to you. And yeah, we'll catch up soon on Slack and in the meetup.
Thanks a lot, Paul.
Cool,
Thanks,
no worries.
Paul. Take care, guys.
I'll
See
stop
ya.
Bye.